This is Forest Service Road 174. I'm starting at the north end of it where it meets 165, which is near Wrangler's Campground. At this end of it, you're in Kentucky. Then by the time you get to the other end of it where it meets 204 and 214, you'll be in Tennessee. So you cross state lines on this road. Fairly smooth gravel. There's some potholes throughout. And depending on the rain, there may be a washout or two. And some areas have been patched up with some thicker white gravel, and it can get pretty loose and piled up in certain spots, so just be cautious of that. So let's ride. Some of the thicker rock I was talking about. There'll be some more throughout that's a little worse than that right there. Like this area right here is pretty thick and loose. Depending on how much it's rained, this area washes out some too, coming down this hill. Another area that washes out. Check how great it is since the last time I went through here. It can be a little sloppy and muddy when it's wet. Nice. It tells you how cold it is. usually a year-round rider, so I can get out, and if it's not extremely too cold, I'll ride. So here's a bridge that crosses over Pryor Bay. We're off of Lake Barkley. One of those roads back there I passed to the left comes down to a nice little camping spot back there. And back in the woods, there's an old bridge following this creek back there. It's been back there for a long time. It's been abandoned now. But you can, at the top of this hill, there's another road that leads down to a cemetery, and you can park and walk out and look at the old bridge. It's the old Pryor Creek Bridge. But we'll continue on. This area right here can pretty be sloppy and muddy after it rains, and it's like red mud too. All these holes fill up with water. It gets pretty nasty. This one right here gets fairly deep. Straight stretch I'm on right now is a thick, loose gravel. Every section of it definitely piles up in the center, so. Those sections over there are pretty loose. One's a bike moving under me. This right here is the end of 174. And after getting to the end of that, I figured I would come and go down 364, which leads back to the Hicks 2 Cemetery, and then we'll walk back there and take a look at the old bridge. Here's where the road comes to an end. So the bridge I crossed earlier that went over the prior bay is over this way. That creek runs through the wood line, down through there, back over here to the old bridge. But I'm gonna get off and get walked back here, and I'll get some photos and videos when I get back there. So here's the old bridge. Came in from that direction. I think it's about only 60, 75 yards back here, so not too far. So there's the bridge. Originally, this bridge was not at this location. I believe it was at another creek. I think it was called Panther Creek. I think it was further south in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, then forgive me. But it was moved here possibly sometime in the 30s, I believe. Yeah, I don't think I want to go walking across that. But there's where the old road was. So I can see the grass to the cemetery and stuff back there in the distance, so it's not really too far in. But if you like history and finding old stuff, this is where the old Pryor Creek Bridge is. Pretty easy to find. So after taking a look at the bridge, it's back that way. I figured I'd stop here by Hicks Cemetery. If you're interested in any history of LBL or anything like that, you can watch this little 1 or 2 minute segment I'm adding in. If not, then I'll see you on my next ride. But when TVA pushed everybody out in the 60s, whenever they was creating Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, one of the last residents that lived out here kept coming back. So eventually they just let him live out here up until 1989, until I believe he was moved to either live with family or a assisted living facility just due to his age. But his name was Cleo Griffin, and his house is one of the structures that's still standing out here. It's on Road 204, right off the trace. It's maybe a half a mile up 204, right next to the Western Furnace and where the home place is. But he lived out here up until, I believe it was 1989, and he passed away in 2000. His grave is over here. And pretty neat, on his grave is actual a picture of his funeral procession passing by his house that he didn't want to leave and for so long. So I figured that was pretty sweet. So there's his grave. Get up there, there's his house and his funeral procession driving by his house. So if you're interested in that, you can drive by and see his house. They got a fence up around it to keep people from going in and damaging property, but you can still see his house. And from this cemetery to his house, it's maybe a mile, mile and a half. It's not too far at all. So if you took the time to watch this and enjoy the history of it, then I appreciate it.